All right, and here we are in week 3. We got Purp versus Toblazen and sending them the all clear and sending them the all clear. So typically Purp has a hazard start with Skarmory and Aerodactyl. Um, However, there's always a chance. I see the Houndoom over there, so that could mean he could be trying to sweep maybe with a nasty plot right off the bat. That could happen always. And then over on Toblazen's side, we've got Steelix as a potential lead, and then your normal type of lead with Tyranitar getting the Sandstream off. Um, and I did send them. Oh, this. Looking at the Pokemon here on Toblazen's side, we've got uh, actually 5 potential Mega Evolutions between Tyranitar, Scizor, Steelix, Slowking, and Ampharos. And then on Perp side, we've got 2 potential Mega Evolutions with Aerodactyl and the Houndoom. Our Mega Metagross is banned. And if I had to guess, typically Aerodactyl is more of a usable mon outside of the Mega versus Houndoom, because Aerodactyl has a really high base speed. And then Houndoom gets faster. So there's the lead with Starmie, very interestingly. Toblazen leading with Ampharos, which is an electric Pokemon. Pretty nice selection there for Toblazen. I don't know if he was really thinking Starmie would be the one that would come out, maybe a Skarmory or an Aerodactyl, but either way, it works for him. So if this is the Mega Evolution, looking at his list, it is the Mega Evolution, so he could potentially get off a agility here to try and start sweeping. And there's the Chansey, which is going to kind of halt um, him a little bit. Now he will be very fast, but a Toxic from the Chansey could force out the Ampharos here. So let's see if Toblazen goes with the Focus Blast. Even though Chansey is a big special wall, he does go for the Focus Blast, and you see how Chansey takes it like a champ. And the Ampharos honestly really can't do much. He may just have to swap out immediately because, I mean, Chansey is, and there's another Focus Blast dealing 30%, and the Soft Boil taking it back up, just showing that it is way more resilient than just those Focus Blasts. So Toblazen needs to see here that he needs to pull this Ampharos right now, and he does. Good. So there's the swap into Tyranitar, and Chansey just runs another Soft Boil, but I think now you're going to see maybe Chansey toss out some sort of Toxic or just swap out immediately to potentially a more physical Mon that can take on this Tyranitar. And with this so far, Tyranitar in the Sandstorm with Assault Vest is a very powerful Pokemon, and he hits him hard with the superpower, reducing the attack and the defense, and there is the Toxic from Chansey. If we see another superpower come out, I don't think you want to use superpower again here. I think you want to use more of a different move, and he goes with the superpower, and there, like I thought, it was not going to be great against the swap in. So let's see if Toblazen can see to swap out to like Steelix here, and try to get a little bit of more momentum going, because his Tyranitar is not going to do much more damage with 2 superpower debuffs out. And a pursuit onto the Tyranitar, he decides to not swap it out. He goes for the Dragon Tail, and Aerodactyl is actually pretty good against Tyranitar, so this didn't really pay off for him on the swap, and Toxic is just continuing to build up. So if I'm Toblazen, I'm probably considering getting this Tyranitar out of here, because Aerodactyl might just, press Stone Edge, and you really don't want to lose Tyranitar here. So I think you got to swap, and he does swap to the Steelix, and Aerodactyl swaps into the Mega, and there is the Stone Edge. Great swap into the Steelix, and Steelix just a really big guy there. He's going to go ahead and get a Stealth Rock out on the Starmie, and Starmie could be carrying Rapid Spin, and it is. The Steelix needs to get out of here quick, and it does, which is a good move there by Toblazen because, oh, and the Ice Beam on the swap is huge. The Starmie has the Ice Beam coverage for some of these flying Pokemon swap-ins, and it just happens to hit the Dragon Pokemon in Ampharos as well. It's going to take the Ampharos down here because that Starmie is way faster. The Ampharos didn't have a chance to get agility off, and that Ice Beam coverage is going to be very good there versus potentially fire coverage or grass coverage. And the Sizor, because we saw Mega Ampharos, we know there's no more Megas. So let's see if Sizor is going to come in. And he hits him with the knockoff. I love this move. The knockoff is big there because Sizor, instead of being banded, is carrying the Life Orb. And on this move right here, a Brave Bird could hurt pretty hard, but you know, I think that the Sizor itself could maybe pop the Sturdy or get rid of that Rocky Helmet on the side of the Skarmory. Remember that Sizor is potentially a mon that can carry things like Roost. This one in particular is not, though. It's got more of an attacking set. And there's some spikes coming out from the Skarmory. Spikes are pretty good against some of the Pokemon, I guess, on Toblazen's side, particularly Tyranitar, and they're okay against Scizor. Steelix, on the other hand, they're not going to be very effective against, and in this matchup here, I think if Toblazen has something like Stone Edge, it could be effective against Skarmory, but you know, if you're Skarmory, you are a premium physical wall, and you could legitimately just start setting up here. So there's a Whirlwind pulling Tyranitar back out, gets the Sandstream going. Now, this is one of those scenarios where Tyranitar is already toxic, and if any Pokemon could get rid of that toxic, I don't see it on Toblazen's side. So I don't think that's really in the cards here, and it's not something that he can deal with. So there's a Metagross. Are we going to see an Earthquake? No, a Dragon Tail. So that's going to swap him, which could be good. And there's the Houndoom. Going to get hit by the Sandstorm at 70%. Now, Tyranitar is at 14% with a Toxic. He could take a swap in, but remember, there's that spike on the ground. So it's going to be tough. He may just leave him out here, but yeah, he goes for the Hidden Power, and I'm assuming that's probably some sort of Hidden Power Grass on that Houndoom. And that Houndoom is Life Orbed, remember. So this, because the Aerodactyl had the Megastone, this Houndoom is Life Orbed. We could see a Nasty Plot at some point here. And Slowking is water, so that Hidden Power Grass could still be usable. It's Psychic as well, so let's see if Purp picks up on that and uses the Stab Dark Pulse here. The Slowking is just that, slow. So if Purp is on top of it and sees that he can get this Dark Pulse out really quickly, not only is it Stab, he does get the Dark Pulse. Let's see if he gets a flinch. And no flinch. There's the Scald, killing the Houndoom. Slowking is specially defensive in that way, so was able to take the Stab Dark Pulse, but that's kind of why you carry Nasty Plot on the Houndoom. Is if you can press one Nasty Plot, you can pretty much sweep through anything. But moving on, Purp here is going to have to come up with a solution. He could send the Chansey out, which I think is going to be his best bet, but Slowking has Regenerator. So with Regenerator, when Toblazen swaps him out, he will automatically heal up. So the Metagross is the choice, and Water Pokemon are good against Steel. So doing something like Bullet Punch may not kill the Slowking. And Slowking does have Flamethrower. So there's the Bullet Punch, and like I said, it did not kill him. There's the Flamethrower. It doesn't kill him. Will we see a burn here? No burn. And there's the Leftovers. Now, Toblazen might want to pull this thing because I didn't see the exact percentage on the loss. And there's a Protect. So because there's no more Sandstorm, he's going to get the Leftovers, and I love this move by Toblazen. Great play there to use the Protect. That allows him to get the Leftovers proc and heal up a little bit. but he decides to pull it out there for the Sizor. I'm not sure about that. The Bullet Punch will not hit the Sizor hard, but I think he had the kill there. The Sizor will be able to finish off this Metagross, but that allows the Metagross to kind of get out of there, and a Bullet Punch back will hit him with the Rocky Helmet. This wasn't a great trade because the Sizor doesn't have Roost. I think he's going to have to end up swapping back to something like the Steelix here. Um, you're in a rough spot. You had a little bit of momentum there, and there's a second round of spikes. And if Skarmory just presses Whirlwind, Slowking needs to hit him with the Flamethrower and does. No burn on it. There is the Whirlwind, getting the Sizor to come out here. This is a really interesting speed thing, and the knockoff taking it down with 1% HP. The loss of HP from the Life Orb kills the Sizor. Now this is crazy. We got 3 Pokemon versus 3. We haven't seen the Flygon come out yet from Toblazen. And Flygon does not get hit by spikes because it's a flyer. So we could see something like Flygon against Aerodactyl here, and that could be a really interesting battle. So we do see Metagross come out, and the Flygon is going to have to deal with that. If he presses Earthquake, though, and Purp decides to swap into the Aerodactyl, that could be really bad for Flygon because he is Scarfed. We'll see what he selects to do. He could do something like Dragon Tail, as it is Stab, but, you know, we'll see. There's the Stab Bullet Punch dealing 4, and he chooses the Earthquake. Okay. We'll see if Purp is on top of this, because he does choose to swap to the Aerodactyl. Now, Toblazen has to see this. It's got wings, it's flying, so you got to swap out of your Flygon here. I think you go to your Steelix. You've got a Rocky Helmet on the Steelix. Probably your best bet. Now, it's a little bit tough here because he goes for the Slowking. Now, Slowking will get hit more by the double hit. The Aerial Ace hitting it, the Steelix would have been much better there. And I think that depending on what he does here, he may just have to swap straight to the Steelix because I don't think your Slowking can take another hit like that. So right here with Regenerator, you gotta like make a move or just like use Protect, get a quick leftovers proc, and then get him out of here. Because I think that this matchup isn't good for you as much as Slowking feels like a good tank in this situation. Aerodactyl is a massive wall breaker, and he chooses to go for the Protect and the Earthquake. Now this is an interesting opportunity here. Is that a bait from Purp to try to get him to swap to the Flygon? I don't know. But that is pretty interesting because Flygon could Scarf into the U-turn and potentially bait out that Stone Edge into the Steelix. So some really interesting play that we could see out of Toblazen. I'm wondering if he's seeing those lines because it could be a really cool situation. So he swaps out of the Slowking here into the Flygon. The Earthquake doesn't do anything because he's a flyer. He then hits U-turn. He's faster because he's Scarfed. Going into the Steelix, forcing something that could be maybe not ideal to hit into the Steelix, procking your Rocky Helmet on the Steelix to hit damage back into the Aerodactyl. And you've got him in a little loop there. So that could be a really cool play here, and I really hope that we can see something like that out of Toblazen. And there's the Aerial Ace, and it survives. Huge survival. The Stab Scald, and it hits the burn. Unbelievable. That is going to take down the Aerodactyl. And I cannot believe this because now the Chansey comes out with 3% HP. Is the Slowking faster? Nobody presses Protect, and that will allow the Soft Boil to get off. What are you doing, Toblazen? I guess you're fine, though, because you've got Flygon on the other side, and he can legitimately just do Stab Earthquakes. Slowking can sit here and slack off. Wow, this is crazy because Steelix also on the other side of the battlefield is a Pokemon that cannot be toxic. Wow, and an unbelievable burn coming out of the Scald there, and the toxic missing is just incredible there. Let's see what happens because this Chansey here has Seismic Toss as well, so it can do some damage, but I don't think that Chansey here you got to get your Slowking out because that Pokemon is going to be, in my opinion, one of your best stallers to get rid of Chansey's PP on some of the soft boiled. But he does get toxic, and I think Toblazen is underestimating Chansey here, and he needs to be really careful because he is just throwing special attacks into one of the best special walls into the meta, and it's really risky. He really needs to tighten up. This is risky, and I think that soon enough he's going to realize that this toxic is going to mount extremely fast, and this is really bad for Toblazen if he just continues to sit here and press Scald. It's not a good. He's going to lose this fight. So I hope he sees it quickly. He uses a protect, which is not going to go well for him because he's still going to take a large hit from Toxic. And there it is. He is underestimating this Chansey, and he could still lose this. He doesn't understand that Toxic is going to do more than the slack off. He is in a difficult situation and needs to get out of here now. See the signs. You are doing nothing to this Chansey. And he goes down to 2% HP. We'll see if he decides to protect, and he will lose the Slowking on this turn, doing essentially nothing to the Chansey, and just a huge set of misplays there from Toblazen. I really hope he can tighten up here because Steelix hopefully has some good stab moves here to take care of him because, you know, the situation is dire here, as it turns out. So he goes for the steel attack, which again is not good. You've got stab earthquake, which is going to be much better than heavy slam, and you are in a tough situation here. I am in just mourning here for Toblazen because he is potentially throwing away this entire game to this Chansey, and we'll see what happens here because Chansey's going to have some opportunity here to just sit here and soft boil. I am just at a loss for words here. Toblazen just got way too confident and just left the Slowking out there. You cannot do that in this game. Pokemon is a game of swings, and there are a lot of different RNG aspects that can get you. And there goes the Steelix. It got him with the Rocky Helmet, so let's see if he chooses the right move here. He has one choice, and he chooses Defog, and he is going to lose the game. He sealed himself, and it's over. It's done. He pressed Defog. I told him about this. He is wearing a Choice Scarf that has locked his Pokemon into this move, pressing Defog. I hope that he might have misclicked it there because the Defog, once you have one Pokemon left, it doesn't matter, and he threw the game there pretty badly. Purp is going to get out of this game. Chansey taking on 3 Pokemon to be able to take it down here. And Chansey just showing how powerful it can be. And a lot of Chanseys, don't run 2 attacking moves. And this is one reason why 2 attacking moves is great, because Purp very, very well navigated this and used this Chansey to just go through and wear down all of Toblazen's last 3 mon. And that will wrap up game 1. An unbelievable comeback by Purp, and just a great display of how powerful Chansey can be. What an unbelievable game 1. And, I bet you that Toblazen is just reeling after that, because that is just not what you want in a first game. So here we are going off to game number 2. It looks like they have accepted, and I'm going to send them the all clear. And the all clear. Real quick, I will swap the viewpoints so we get to see Purp's viewpoint this time. So here we are going into game 2, and I think that we're going to see Toblazen think a little bit more about some of these moves, because that scenario was really tough there. You had a Slowking that is a Pokemon that is built around swapping in and out with Regenerator, and you really just threw the match with him. He was going to be a key mon to your swap in and swap out strategy. But moving on to the next game, we could see something, and there's an immediate swap off the Ampharos into the Tyranitar, swapping to the Chansey. I don't know what these guys are doing on their first turns. Maybe Purp swap makes a little more sense, but the Ampharos was a good Pokemon there for you. So I don't. It gets the Sandstorm going, but Metagross is Steel now, and this is what Purp wanted. This is the matchup that Purp wanted. Metagross is a Pokemon that can really get into Tyranitar, especially with Superpower, because and there's Meteor Mash 100%ing to zero because, like I said, Superpower dropping the defense of the Tyranitar, and that move is super effective. And Meteor Mash is one of the greatest moves there, giving the 1.5 additional attack. He is locked into the Meteor Mash, and there's the Flamethrower, super effective, but as you can see, Slowking, it's not stab, so that Metagross with the Assault Vest is able to take that fire move like a champ, and that's kind of one of the core reasons why you can use Metagross with or without Assault Vest. Here, actually, no Assault Vest. It still took it great, but he's banded into that Meteor Mash. We could see him swap here to try and save the Gross, but yeah, he does swap to the Houndoom. And this Houndoom is able to take in the Flamethrower, exactly what you do with Houndoom. Absorbing the fire move and powering up his own abilities. That is what Flash Flyer does. The Dark Pulse killing the Slowking. Beautiful move there. He saw it in the last game. He knew he would outspeed, but with the Flash Fire as well. And here's the Steelix. This Steelix is not a great swap in because Houndoom is a fire Pokemon. He's going to fire. And there's a Fire Blast. The Sturdy taking it down to 1, saving it. The Life Orb dealing a little damage. Getting the Stealth Rock out with the Steelix. But again, even if he decides to leave in the Houndoom, it will kill the Steelix. And he does leave it in Press's Fire Blast, which is really risky. I'll have to talk to him about this. He has Nasty Plot. He should just be running Flamethrower. So we'll see about that. But a little bit risky there. The Flygon's going to come out here. Let's see if Purp will swap to the flying Pokemon because Flygon is a typical stab Earthquaker. And if he leaves the Houndoom in, Earthquake will do tons of work. Actually, Earthquake or U-Turn would probably both kill the Houndoom, but we'll see what he decides to do here as Flygon is Dragon. There's the swap to the Skarmory, which is a flyer. The Earthquake will do nothing there. Great swap in by Purp. And remember, this Flygon is Scarf, so it will have to... And he presses it again. He needs to know that doesn't work. It's immune. You've got to swap it out. Maybe he only has 3 Pokemon left. He led with the Ampharos, and there it is, but he didn't Mega Evolve it because he swapped it out immediately. And there's the second set of spikes. We should see a Mega Evolution here, and maybe something like a Thunderbolt into the Skarmory. Purp might swap, but even then, he would swap to the Chansey if he was going to swap. He doesn't. There's the Thunderbolt, stab, huge move on the Skarmory. We're going to see probably, there's the Chansey, which is the special wall to stop this Ampharos. And I don't really know what you can do here. You can swap to the Scizor. That's really your only choice. You got to do it now because, and he doesn't swap to the Scizor. This is going to be bad news. There is the Toxic going out on the Ampharos. He needed to understand this thing about special walls and physical walls. Misses with the Focus Blast. We saw this in the last game. The Focus Blast only doing about 25 to 30% damage, HP damage against Chansey. Yeah, 26% there. Not going to outpace the Soft Boiled. You cannot race this Chansey with the Ampharos. That was what we learned in the first game. So he's just going to let this thing die. It looks like he has just accepted the fact that this is over. He could send the Scizor out. No, he chooses the Flygon, the wrong swap in. The Chansey is going to be able to get this Flygon down pretty easily because we saw, Stab Earthquake is great on this Flygon. That's always usually what you press. We'll see if Purp goes for the same swap in here with the Aerodactyl on the swap. Aerodactyl can also very easily take No damage from the earthquake, as he's a flyer. The Chansey could probably maybe take one earthquake, but I wouldn't risk it. You've got, well, actually, looking at Toblazen's team, there isn't really any other special mon, so your Chansey could legitimately just stay out here. And he presses Defog, trying to get rid of that. Now he'll have to swap immediately, and he'll have to swap to the Sizor. Now, when he swaps to the Sizor, Purp is probably also going to swap off the Chansey, getting him, the better Pokemon there. Probably, if I had to guess, maybe like swapping to the Aerodactyl or swapping to the Houndoom, because the double swap just makes sense. If we see another Defog, Toblazen has thrown in the towel, but if he's still fighting here, then probably going to see a double swap come in. Um, and, you know, Toblazen really only having the option to swap to the Sizor, which the Sizor is life orbed rather than being banded, so it will have the opportunity to have a little bit more flexibility in what moves it uses turn to turn. But in general here, you're really under the gun with this Flygon Toxic. You could have swapped to the Sizor on the previous turn. I mean, you knew the Toxic was coming. That was, I thought, pretty straightforward here. I mean, and even if he had pressed Seismic Toss, like, yeah, your Sizor would go lower, but like you have to take high risks when you are down this many Pokemon. Sometimes those moves may not be the best moves to make when you're talking about a battle of trades or a battle of one for ones and chip. But in this situation, you really got to go out and see if you can force Purp to make some mistakes. And he did press the Toxic, so it would have been a free swap there. And then you could have maybe gotten some momentum and predicted the swap into the Houndoom and built from there. But at this point, we are looking at somebody just kind of going in the tank, it seems, about this swap, which is kind of interesting. Maybe there's some sort of connection issue. Hopefully not, but it's possible. Don't have any messages from the players, so I guess that Purp is just really thinking about what his swap is here. And it looks like we do have some sort of connectivity issue, and there is the swap to the Sizor, and Purp deciding to leave the Chansey out, and gets the full soft boil. But again, with Sizor here, we know the Sizor probably has superpower, which is something that will lower his own attack and defense. So he will have to do some sort of swap in and out. And yeah, there is the superpower, not going to do enough damage. The Toxic won't work against Steel, and that's kind of what I was saying before. If he presses superpower again, it could kill this Chansey. It's probably his only shot here. Now, Purp could legitimately swap to Starmie or Metagross to take the superpower if he wanted to. But he may just leave the Chansey out here and just let the Sizor debuff itself. Because if it gets another round of those superpower debuffs, then that could be a force into the swap into the Flygon, allowing you to get a little bit of momentum there. And because the Houndoom is not Mega Houndoom, it is a little bit slower. So the fact that the Flygon is scarfed could play a role later on. And he does decide to leave it out there, and that will give it the 2-stage down total for attack and defense. This is where Purp will be able to swap into some sort of fast Pokemon, or honestly not even fast Pokemon. You got to think that Toblazen is going to make a swap here into the Flygon, because he needs to understand that the attack and defense drop is pretty huge here. I mean, you don't care about defense with the Houndoom, but the attack drop is massive. And so swapping to the Flygon would be pretty good. The problem is that it would let Purp get a free Nasty Plot off or a free Dark Pulse into the Flygon on the swap. And if it were me, I'm pressing Dark Pulse. I don't care about Nasty Plot because in the situation that Flygon is faster than you, which is likely, you don't want to just press Nasty Plot and lose the turn. That's a one-way ticket to being in Trouble Town. So I think, and he chooses to leave the Scizor in. He presses Fire Blast, which again is a very risky move. And I would have swapped to the Flygon there. And there's the Flygon coming back out. Remember, it is toxic. And his only real option, because it's choiced, is to press a move that will not be bad against Aerodactyl. And there's Hidden Power. And we see that Houndoom is, because he pressed Dragon Tail, Houndoom is faster. And that is kind of the story of this game. Dragon Tail is not a move that you want to really use on a Scarfed Mon. Same with Defog. Not going to be a very effective strategy here. You're going to always move second. And there is the Ice Beam taking down the Flygon, sealing the game for Purp with a 2-0 victory. And one more battle left for week 3 coming up. But good games, and moving on for the next week of battles.